2020 trade deadline is quickly approaching with 2 days left making this video. And I think there are several receivers that will be traded, and I think that will be the position group with the most transactions by the time it's all over. And there's been big names like Will Fuller, or even sometimes Michael Thomas gets thrown in there since he's only played one game in the 2020 season. And there's just a whole bunch of offensive weapons like the receiving group, which we're talking about today, and the tight end group, including Zach Ertz, guys like Kittle have thrown in a couple, but those obviously aren't real and obviously aren't going to happen. George Kittle will never get traded, let alone in 2020. But when we talk about receivers, we always thought of maybe a guy like Brandon Cooks or Will Fuller, specifically in the Texans receiving group. And the Packers, who will they trade for? And obviously the Cowboys have three really good receivers, and there's been some Michael Gallup rumors, but the Cowboys came out and said that Michael Gallup will not be traded. So I want to talk about three receivers that I think will 100% be traded at the deadline. I think three for sure's are Alshon Jeffrey, Marvin Jones Jr., and Brandon Cooks. And I'm going to talk about them collectively more than individually, if that makes sense, because all three have value that another team may give up a mid-round pick. And the teams that they are on are currently unproductive. Brandon Cooks has recently gotten more touches since the new head coach or the firing of Bill O'Brien, but that really hasn't done much. It's not like he's gone off and has went to his old form. And then obviously Alshon Jeffrey, the injury-prone guy who I don't even think's played a game this year. And correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. I don't think he's played a game this year. And then Marvin Jones Jr., who's really been kind of overlooked because of Kenny Golladay and just how bad the Lions have been over the recent years. And I think when we talk about Brandon Cooks, he was traded for a second-round pick after they got a second-round pick in return for DeAndre Hopkins. And Will Fuller's breakout season has kind of overtaken that, especially when they signed Randall Cobb. They gave up a first-round pick with the Laremy Tunsil trade last year for another receiver, and it's kind of coming to question. It's like, okay, they have Kenny Stills, who's their number 4 option, who they pretty much gave up a first-round pick for, even though that first-round pick was mainly for Laremy Tunsil, or I should say 2 and a second, 2 first rounds and a second. And then Will Fuller, who was their 2016 first-round pick, who's finally breaking out. And then obviously they gave Randall Cobb a huge contract. And it all is now adding up to where, okay, Bill O'Brien got good receivers on the team, but too many of them. And it's very rare to say there's too much talent, there's too many mouths to feed. It's kind of the same situation they have in Cleveland. And especially when you give up a second-round pick for Brandon Cooks, for him to be your third primary option, that's how you know you lost the trade. And I think they're going to be very quick to move him at the deadline, even though there's only 2 days remaining. I'm pretty sure they can get maybe a third and fourth, maybe a second from a desperate team. But I think the team that will acquire him is the Miami Dolphins. The reason I think the Miami Dolphins will trade for Brandon Cooks is that they're kind of in a contention to win their division. Obviously, they may not catch up to Buffalo, but right now they're second, and they could easily catch up in that wild card spot in the AFC. And I think if they want to do that, I think they have to give Tua more weapons. And I think Brandon Cooks, I think, is a perfect fit. I think he could get a lot of touches there next to Devontae Parker, and I really think that it won't take much of picks to acquire him, or maybe a rotational piece on that defense to kind of help out that Houston defense, which is really struggling right now. And then second, I think that Alshon Jeffrey will be traded to the Green Bay Packers. The reason why I think Alshon Jeffrey will be traded to the Green Bay Packers is they've been in rumors to acquire a receiver. Obviously, the big name has been Will Fuller and Kenny Stills, but I really find it hard that the Packers will trade for Will Fuller because they have very limited assets. And they're now in a win-now mode. And obviously it may seem easy. Hey, throw in a first or second-round pick. It's going to be a late first-round pick or a late second-round pick anyway. But at the end of the day, the Packers aren't very young, and they're going to need those first-round picks to build up their future. So I think that giving up like early draft picks for Will Fuller are too much. So I think Alshon Jeffrey's a perfect guy to go grab to be your number 2 or number 3 if Allen Lazard comes back. and you won't have to give up much because I think the Eagles will give Alshon Jeffrey for a bag of Q-tips. I think they'll take anything at this point. And then last but not least, Marvin Jones. I think he's a perfect fit for San Francisco. I think the 49ers still need help on the receiving end, and I think Marvin Jones is a perfect guy for them to go out and get, kind of how they went out and got Emmanuel Sanders last year at the deadline. And I think this is a perfect fit. A guy that can easily get open, a guy with a little bit of speed, a little bit of strength to him, a little bit of break tackle ability. And I think like I said, they won't have to give up much. And I think he will really fit better than Emmanuel Sanders did. And I think Marvin Jones will quickly become their number one next to Brandon Ayuk. So thank you for watching. If you do enjoy, comment or do something. If you dislike it, that works too. Thank you guys for watching.